It's 2021 and joining us in the studio is Greg Barton, a long-time contributor and someone who probably is best placed to talk about the historic happening this morning in the United States. I'm talking about, of course, the inauguration of Joe Biden and the arrival of Kamala Harris as the first black woman to be anointed to the position of Vice President of the United States. It was some morning, wasn't it?
It was. I was in two minds, but I woke up, watched it, and I was blown away. It was much better than my cynical self thought it would be. It was really quite something.
What, as a historian, as an educator, as a commentator, what have you made of the last month or so? I mean, Donald Trump, yes, has been this incredibly divisive figure, but certain things have happened. He was right in the middle of some of the fomenting of troubles at the Capitol. I thought he actually outdid himself in terms of noise and disruption.
Yeah, I think he's now locked his place as America's worst president because of his impact, because of the damage done. I mean, there's been other bad presidents, but you have to go back 150 years to Johnson, who didn't attend the inauguration after being impeached himself. Trump, unfortunately, has just doubled down on all the dumb, stupid, ugly, hateful things he's been doing for years and confirmed, I mean, he sort of ripped away every pretense. If everyone was tempted to say the emperor was naked, this was completely starkers in the end.
We need to ask, and had COVID not happened, Greg, this president that we're talking about and will be maligned forever and a day, got an extraordinary number of people backing him. If COVID hadn't have happened, would we be seeing a second term for Donald Trump?
American presidents of any stripe, particularly Republicans, tend not to lose a second term. I mean, it's very hard to defeat the incumbent. It takes remarkable circumstances. Trump got 74 million people out to vote, you know, a record number, despite his mismanagement of COVID-19. I think it was COVID-19, and it was, you know, I'll say one name, but there's thousands and thousands. Stacey Abrams. It was women of colour, and a lot of people whose names we don't know, who worked tremendously hard, not just to deliver Georgia in both the presidential vote and also the Senate runoff, but across the country. That's what turned things around. So in some ways, Trump fired up civil society. But you're right, without COVID-19, he should have sailed home because the economy was going strong. He claimed credit for that. He deserved some credit, but not as much as he claimed, and that would have been more than enough to bring him home.
The symbolism this morning was further extended with the Biden family and the presidential party stepping out onto the streets. We were told that it wasn't going to happen. They defied even that and said, no, we're going to show you that we're here in its business and we've got to get out there and show the people that they too can come with us on this journey. It's about healing, isn't it?
It's about healing. It's also about being gutsy, about putting it on the line. I mean, there's a risk in doing those sort of things, sure. But they weighed up the risk and said it's more important to make this gesture. And you know, it is, you can't help getting away from the sense that this is sincerity. It's not just politicians behaving according to a political script. This is decency on show.
The reason I ask that is because Biden has had a mixed career. He's been around for 47 odd years. He's been a stayer. He's a bit like a barnacle in some respects. They couldn't get rid of him. And yet now he's reached the highest office in the land, the 46th President of the United States. That's a big deal. Yep. But he has a big job to do.
Yeah, third time lucky running for president. And he said himself he wouldn't have run if it weren't for the state that was left with Trump, and that sort of cemented the fact that he had to give it one more go. You know, cometh the hour, cometh the man. He is just the right person, and not the person that we probably would have chosen, not that an educated, clever committee would have chosen. Younger, perhaps female, not this old white guy who has his flaws. But as it turns out, he's perfectly the right guy as part of a team. And the thing is, he's a team player. So we've got Kamala Harris, we've got this new administration, a third of them immigrants or children of immigrants, people of colour. It's how America is. Decent, experienced people, though. This is a decent, experienced, professional group of people, and the guy at the front's important, but it's because of that team playing and sort of team he draws that we have.
How do you heal the country that's been almost torn asunder, divided well and truly into left and right?
Well, I think we heard it in his inauguration speech. We heard it in Amanda Gorman's incredible poem. It harks back. We've heard this many times before, but it harks back to the idea of giving hope and looking forward and looking at common humanity and respect, and then delivering on practical physical things, income support, rolling out the vaccine. That's the sort of thing that gives people confidence to say, actually, this guy is working for me. I didn't vote for him, but actually he's going to do a decent job, and that helps with healing.
How will China view this inauguration?
But they're about as happy with this as Donald J. Trump is. This is the guy they didn't want being president. Trump they could play with, and he was his own worst enemy. They had a great rival immobilised. I mean, they were worried about the instability, but in the end they sort of figured him out. Biden is going to be gracious but tough and firm. It'll be good for China, but I don't think it's what Xi Jinping and his team would choose.
What about Australia? How do we benefit, or how do we fit in, and how does this appointment or this inauguration look at us? Will the American presidency finally look down with trying to reinstall some of those very positive ally commentary that we heard for every president until the last one? We used to hear that they'd come to office and immediately they'd talk about the great ties between two great friends. Are we going to see a return to some normalcy? I don't want to use normal during COVID, but are we likely to see something along those lines?
Absolutely, we're seeing it already. In fact, signing the Paris Accord, rejoining the World Health Organization, that's already the sort of positive signs you want to see. It's about being back as a member of an international community. One of the weird things that Trump did or tried to achieve was to treat his friends worse than his enemies, and that's bizarre. It was not America's interest at all. It was not putting America first. Biden has shown very consistent signs he understands what needs to be done. I think, there's another side to answering your question though, George. Biden is wanting to lift America to the angels of their better nature. We need some lifting to the angels of our better nature. We don't have strong, courageous, visionary government on a lot of fronts, the way we treat refugees, asylum seekers, the environment, climate change. Yeah. There's a lot of things we need to do much better, and I think we're going to benefit from being lifted to our better selves.
Is there a possibility that we might see the electoral system in America reviewed? May it come under some serious questioning to try and address some of the challenges that it's faced over the last few months? And is it also a time maybe for Australia, which has had to go through this COVID exercise, to decide whether the federal government does lead the country or whether we're just a group of states and the most important people in each state is the Premier?
That's a good question, because I think we've got the right legislation in Australia by and large. It can always be better. But you can't force a government to govern, and we haven't had a federal government stepping forward and showing leadership. Now, that was a major failing of the federal government in the US under Trump. Can't blame everything on him, but leadership may have saved literally hundreds of thousands of lives. The states are working on reform, but now they've got a federal government that's working on visionary leadership, and we need that visionary leadership here as well.
Greg Barton, as always, thank you for coming in and making sense of some of the big events that have happened around the world. And if I can leave you with one last question, what is his first order of business?
His first order of business, as he said himself, is to heal, is to show people that they can have hope in working together, that they are respected, that he's governing for all Americans as part of a team, and that they don't have to give in to some sense of things falling apart and being unrecoverable and succumb to cynicism. Hope with substance.
Greg Barton, before I leave you, one last question. What is the first order of business? We've seen Joe Biden and his family step out, walk the streets. What comes tomorrow?
What he's been saying all along, George, is bringing America together, unity. But that sounds trite, but it's unity with hope based on real substance. There's the decency and integrity of the president and the vice president and their team. They're going to have to respond to COVID-19, rolling out a vaccine at an incredible pace. They're going to roll out income relief checks. They're going all out on responding to the climate crisis. Those are concrete, practical things framed around hope in a respectful view of the way Americans treat one another. And that's the combination America needs right now. And that's frankly the combination the world needs, including Australia.
And the vaccines have arrived, which would make an interesting chance now to, as I say, enact and put that program of vaccination into play and get things done and move the country along. Because Lord knows they've been under enormous pressure. Their medical system has taken a fearful hit, and we've heard in the past it's a tremendously modern one, but it's had its shortfalls, but it came under enormous pressure with the contagion spreading as quickly and as deeply as it has.
Yeah, we're racing past 400,000 lives lost. That's more than World War II for America. And probably with a halfway decent federal administration, half of those might have been saved. That's a tragedy that just doesn't bear
Greg
thinking
Barton,
about.
thank you for joining us on The Informer. Look forward to catching you next time.
Looking
Greg
forward.
Barton joining us.